Yeah, we're starting the episode.
What is touching me?
Do. Welcome to this episode of Spooky Talk. Get out of here.
Go bookworms, go.
This is our first episode in a while, and it's our first episode of spooky season. And I'm going to go ahead and share this on my personal page so that you fuckers will watch it.
I would share it on my personal page, but I don't got any friends. Except for you guys. You're here already.
The gang's all here.
You're an admin on that page even though you don't want to be because you keep correcting my spelling.
It was twice, and one was not for Rad Paranormal. And it is not my fault that you don't know the difference between time and tune. It's an it's. This is not my fault.
She texted me, and she sends me a screenshot of one of my posts, and she's like, "You don't need the apostrophe. The apostrophe makes it possessive." And like, it's a story. It's gonna go away in 24 hours. Nobody's gonna see it.
I was like, well, I didn't know it was a story because I didn't know what that was. I didn't know it would disappear in 24 hours.
And then like 2 days later, she sends me another screenshot, and she's like, "What is this slang?" Or I had accidentally put, "Be sure to tune in," but I said in my autocorrect was, "Be sure to time in." And she's like, "Is this slang?" And I go, "Woman."
But I was being serious that time. I didn't know if you meant it or not.
So she messaged me back. She goes, "Oh, what are you womaning me for?"
I have a genuine question, and now you're making fun of me because
Stop
I don't
correcting
understand
me.
things.
All right. So it's our first episode of spooky season. And in this episode, we're going to talk about... I did Halloween Horror Nights again. Jackie did Hallow Scream.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a horror movie night. Well, it's like I don't know if it would even classify as a horror. It was a weird movie night.
Technically, it's a horror film.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just like a very B-rated horror film.
Yeah.
Which is
that I had
the
watched
best.
when I was like 15, but we went back to. But anyway, I'll let you start with Hallow Scream.
Okay, so Hallow Scream. It was our third year, which it was SeaWorld's third year doing it. They had a handful of new additions this year. But overall, it was just kind of carbon copy paste from the two previous years. So
I would have hoped that because last year I didn't care for it. I would have hoped they would have at least built it up, and made it a little better.
and that's what we were hoping for. They did add a few new houses, and they added a new scare zone that was shockingly my favorite because it's the Carnival Pier, so it was clowns everywhere, and being how I feel about carnivals and clowns.
That was your favorite?
And that was my favorite, and you actually have to go through a giant like clown's mouth to get in. So I closed my eyes and I held on to somebody and I walked through, and I was fine with that. But when we got in, the clowns weren't really traditionally dressed, and there were two scare actors in particular that were they were very funny and silly, and they were just kind of mocking people, and I just got a kick out of it. So I think that's why that was my favorite. And I did see a post yesterday in my SeaWorld pass holders group that a bunch of people were commenting that one of the clowns in particular was their favorite because she's super friendly and she does kind of scary stuff, but mostly she's just goofy. So I think that's why I liked it. Because again, I do enjoy Hallow Scream because I like that it's so family friendly and we can take the kids. They did add a new scare zone this year. It was
Buttworms up.
goodbye, buttworms.
Goodbye, buttworms.
The Bloodlight District, which is exactly what you would think it is. Vampires doing the sexy dances. It was a neat scare zone. There were some real great photo ops in it, so that was really cool. So what they added new this
Watch the
year.
bottle. She's gonna give Sky the buttworms.
I was getting buttworms. Woo! Buttworms all around. That's so we can do the shots later. So yeah, the new things that they added were fabulous, but then they kept the same the Siren Song show, which was essentially just like
That was a cool show, though. That was probably one of the better parts of that I've enjoyed.
it was cool, but it's the third year that I've seen it.
Yeah.
So I've seen it 5 times now, and it's lost its.
Luster.
Yeah, they did keep the Monster Stomp, which it was similar to the first year, the same as last year, but it was a great show, so I really liked it. I would say for the pass holder price that we paid, which was $32.
Oh, that's not bad. That's worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it for the $32. But I was just looking, and now the pass holder price has gone up to $45. I wouldn't pay that.
Yeah, as the season goes, it goes up. Yeah.
And then if you're not a pass holder, it's over $100. And hell would freeze
definitely
before I
not
would
worth
pay
it.
that. It's
No.
not worth that. So
They, like you have like the one or two special actors, like the clown person that you talked about.
Right.
But when we went, it was like they clearly didn't teach people or train people how to be scare actors. They were just like walking around. Like the one guy that I saw that could have really scared me last year, he was just standing there.
yeah, and there's a lot of that. There's a handful that are good. They did also add food booths this year, but we had already eaten, so we didn't get anything. But it was cool, like Halloween themed foods. We especially skipped it because last year we got some of the Halloween themed drinks, but they were too heavy on like the sour mix, and all they did was upset our stomachs. And that's not worth it. There is a cool bar you can go into where they've got like circ performers.
Same area?
Yeah. And that's the same, but it's still worth it. So going in there and like grabbing a beer was a lot of fun. But again, for the price we paid, absolutely. I hope next year they change it up a little bit. I know we'll still go for pass holder price because
Yeah, you
Ev
can't
loves
beat
it.
it.
Yeah, and you can't beat it. It's a fun evening out. But I would like to see SeaWorld bring in some more changes.
Previously, how often did they change everything out every year, or
They're brand new to it, so they're still
Okay.
getting their footing down. I think they're trying to perfect what they have before they change it.
Which I agree with because this is the third year they've done it at SeaWorld. And every year it is better than it was the year before.
Gotcha.
So there was no change first year to second year.
I didn't realize it was that new.
Yes, so because we were there the very, very, very first night, which was actually, it was a very cool experience to be there the first night. So I do see where they're building and they're growing. I see where they're improving. But I know that Busch Gardens has been doing it for years.
But from what I've heard from my buddy that comes down and does Hallow Screens, he owns a haunted house up in Virginia.
Right.
Shout out to Rob. Shout out to Terra Manor. Tonight's their opening night. If you're in Virginia watching this, which I don't think that you would be, but if you are, go check them out.
Yeah, that's a cool house.
He's got a bunch of crazy shit in there now. Like you saw that giant snake head last time
Yeah.
we were up there. Yeah, he's got a bunch of crazy stuff.
Nice.
But he did Hallow Scream in Busch Gardens. He said it was like kind of the same thing where they clearly don't train anybody.
Okay. You know what though? I love SeaWorld. I love being a pass member. But the kind of general attitude for SeaWorld staff members is whatever. I mean, straight up, like, we've had them go, have a day. And we're like, do you mean a nice day? What do you mean? Is this just the day I deserve? Is this what you're telling me? So we've never had any be rude to us. But when you're talking about other theme parks, it's a different vibe.
Yeah.
But I like it because the price, you can't beat that.
Yeah. We looked at like when we were up in Orlando for our anniversary doing Halloween Horror Nights. The next night we were looking for like other stuff to do, and like I really want to do Henry's Haunted Trail in Plant City. It's like 2 hours away, but from all the videos, all the pictures that I've seen about it, and all the reviews that I've read, it's totally worth it. And they have 3 different mazes and a hayride. And I think the cost to do just the mazes was like $60, which isn't bad, because you can do them all over and over and over again. And to throw in the hayride is like another 15 or 20.
That's not bad.
No, and like you only paid $35, and that's like a bigger production than this is, but you know.
Yeah, I see the comparison there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got you.
Halloween Horror Nights, we paid what was it, like $80 a ticket, hun? 85? 80.
I think for 80 for our pass holders.
Okay, yeah. For pass holders, we paid 80 each, which I mean, Universal. It's Halloween Horror Nights. It's iconic. It's a huge production. We didn't do Fast Pass this year because I figured it's early enough in the season. It's not going to be super crazy.
And did that check out for you? Did that work out?
It worked out better than I would have thought it would have, because I had gone before years ago without the Fast Pass, and it was more peak season, and I only got to do 2 houses.
Yeah, because see, that would be a bummer.
But with this, we got there early in the season and early in the day. Didn't have the Fast Pass because I would love to have the Fast Pass. My shoulder would have loved for me to have the Fast Pass, but I'm not paying $500 for both of us to go and just to make sure we hit every house. And we can
Right,
get
that's
everything done.
that's a lot. That's I mean, I guess if you got it, whatever.
The
but
fast pass itself was like $230.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's per fast pass
Right.
on top of your regular ticket.
I did see though you could get an unlimited for them for the season, and it was like 230 or something like that.
Yeah.
That's not for the fast pass. That's just to get in
That's
unlimited.
just go-
I didn't know that was an option.
That way you can hit like 2 houses one night
Yeah.
and then go back another night. Yeah, I mean that's a good deal if you want to do that all season.
Yeah, I was kind of toying with that idea for next year maybe.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a good idea, but I mean, if they gave us more of a discount with our pass holder, because I already gave them enough money,
Right.
I would be more up for it. But we paid that much, and it wasn't bad. The longest we waited was for the Stranger Things house, and that was 85 minutes, because that's the house this year.
And that's not that bad.
No, all the other lines we waited in were 45 to an hour long, but
Great.
I'm old now, so like I'm sitting in these lines for an hour, and they weave you in and out because they have to fit so many people back there. There's not really much for you to lean on.
Right.
They have ropes, and then they have the poles that the ropes are attached to. So as we're sitting in lines, my back is going tighter and tighter and tighter, and I'm finding things to lean on, and this shoulder's already fucked. I got an injection of this shoulder yesterday, so I'm trying not to lean on this one. I'm putting all my weight on this shoulder, and by 1 a.m. we had already hit pretty much all the houses we wanted to hit except for one, but this shoulder just spasmed out. And it felt like somebody digging a dagger into like in between my collarbone there. And I was like, I think we should leave.
That was me, all the weaving in and out of the lines. I was like, my hip is really hurting now. I
Yeah.
think it's time to go.
Yeah. But the first house we hit was I think it's called Blood Offering. It was kind of based on like an old cult town.
Okay.
That one was really cool. My favorite part of that whole house, you get to the end, and he's not even scaring you. Because Universal, they're great at set design. You don't really get scared. I mean, I jumped one time. You don't really get that scared because you're a conveyor belt going through. It's hard to jump scare you. And they have plainclothes people that are there to watch after the scare actor. So you see the plainclothes person, okay, there's a scare person nearby me. So you prepare yourself. But they had like this big tower of like it looked like it was a big wooden tower in like this old, if you've ever played Resident Evil 4, it was like that kind of a town. I think Alexis would probably know what I'm talking about.
What is it?
Resident Evil 4?
Yeah.
Like the Blood Offering haunted house was like you're walking through that town.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But at the end, they had like this big wooden tower, and there was a guy up in the top just looking down at people menacingly. But he looked super cool. Wasn't a big scary or anything, but he just looked cool.
Like cool costuming.
Yeah, cool costuming, cool
set.
everything.
I like the devil mask in that.
Yeah, there's a devil mask in that one too. And then there's one point where that you're walking through like an old church, kind of like you would in Resident Evil 4, and they have people sitting all up and down the pews, but you can't tell who's real and who's a mannequin. So you get to certain points and they jump up at you.
Butt worms.
Yeah, but she's just sitting there. She's fine. Then there's Yeti. The Yeti house reminded me a lot of like Cocaine Bear, but in the 70s. So one scene would have really got me. And spoiler alert, if you're gonna go watch this house or you're gonna go walk through this house, skip ahead like 30 seconds. I only knew this actor was an actor because I saw them going into the house because they have set change and like actor change and everything right at the entrance. So I saw him walking in. He walked in this like it looked like a taxidermy bear. So when I got to him, I see him standing there just like this. I'm like, okay, he's an actor. And then he comes out at me. I go, I only knew you would have got me if I hadn't seen you come in. But that one was good. And then we did my favorite house was the Exorcist house, based
Okay.
off of the new movie.
Okay.
Set design of that one was awesome. You get to one point and you have the kid's name was Linda Blair, right?
In the original, yeah.
Okay, yeah. That they have her sitting in the middle of the room. They have all this black ooze coming out of the top of her mouth, and it's just hitting the ceiling and going in circles.
The
And
Reagan character.
Yeah, and as you're subverted to that, and you're looking at that because that's there to draw your attention. Somebody comes out and scares you.
That's cool.
I'm pretty sure a lot of that set was from the Halloween house last year, and I really liked that one last year. There's a lot of subversion in that one where they draw your attention to one spot and then they'll scare you at another spot. There's a lot of mirror play in that. There's one like you walk through a hallway and there's a mirror, you see yourself, and then it just suddenly turns and you can see through it, and it's an actor right there looking at you.
That's cool.
I remember last year at the Halloween house, my favorite part was like you come around the corner and you see Michael Myers standing there, but it's actually a mirror and he comes up behind you.
That's very cool.
We did
Well, I heard the Exorcist house was very odoriferous. Is that true?
define odoriferous for the people that don't know what that means.
Odoriferous. It means it had quite an odor. I understand it smelled like feces.
I didn't.
No?
I smelled a lot of fake fog, but I mean maybe.
Okay. All right. Just fact checking.
And then they had two houses at the end. I forget what were the two houses at the end by the hippy dippy vampires. I forgot what those two were.
Wasn't one of them Yeti?
Yeah, one of them was Yeti. We did the Yeti one, and I forgot what the other one was. Yeah, well, it was what all the ones we went through were good. I know that. Stranger Things was good. You didn't see a whole lot of Demogorgon, which I was disappointed about. You only see one, and he's at the very end again. Spoiler, but you know you're gonna be disappointed about that too. What I didn't like was that they made the good guys, like the main characters, try and scare you.
Like all the kids?
Yeah, like that doesn't really fit the narrative. It's like why would the kids try to be scaring you?
Especially when they have characters that could scare you
Yeah.
from it.
I mean, other than that, it was a good house. All the scare zones were cool. I was really looking forward to the hippy dippy. I call it hippy dippy vampire because it's 60s and 70s themed vampires. So like they have this whole like a stage set up for like a 70s or 60s jam band, and they have like an old bus that's all tie dye.
It's cool.
And they have these vampires walking around in tie dye and stuff, and they're holding body parts and drinking from the body parts. I was looking forward to it, and walking through, I'm like, this makes no sense at fucking all.
Really?
Yeah.
They just dropped the ball.
And they just
on
like threw it all in there. I'm like, okay, there's like no story. It's just 60s vampires. The shipyard was really cool because they had like crates and stuff with bars, and then like they tried. Some of the other areas are around a doctor who goes and travels and brings things back. So you got like fairies and stuff in these, and they break out of them and come after you.
That's cool.
By the time we got to all the scare zones, that was when I started feeling that stabbing feeling in my shoulder. So Megan's like, "Oh, look at that! Look at that! Yeah, that's great. That's great. Let's go." She's like, "Oh, look at me! I want to see this." Okay, just walking around like this because if I move, it's gonna hurt. But luckily, by that time, we had already seen everything we wanted to see. The only house we didn't get to see that I really wanted to go to, because I couldn't have waited an hour in line, I would have died. They have a house based on like the Robert Johnson story. You know who Robert Johnson is? The old blues player who sold his soul for
Yes.
at the
Yes.
Crossroads.
Yes. Okay.
There was a whole house based on like the Crossroads demon
Okay.
deal thing. Oh, it was Dueling Dragons. That's what the other one I couldn't think of was.
Oh, okay.
Because they had the old ride Dueling Dragons, and it's like an ode to Dueling Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
And what's cool is at the end, it like forks off, and you can pick red dragon or blue dragon, and it makes you, if you have a fast pass, it makes you want to come back around and do it again.
Okay.
Like Kimberly said, she did.
Yeah,
it
Kimberly's
twice.
done it both.
We did red, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, she said blue wasn't as good as she said red all the way.
Yeah, like the dragon heads and stuff in there. That like, props to Halloween Horror Nights. They have great set design. One of my main complaints about this year is maybe I just went early and it was too bright because I could see a lot of the mask lines and like lines on the bottom of the mask and like coming up the back of the neck, and that kind of pulls you out of it takes away from the immersion.
Okay. I'm surprised to hear that from Universal.
Yeah. But I only really noticed that at like the people out and about, like in the houses, they're like done up perfect because they have sets and you can see through the fence sort of, and you can see all like the huge like area it is and how much work they put into it. But yeah, the still people, I was like, I can see everything about you, and that kind of pulled me out of it. But if I had to give it a rating out of 10, I'd give it a solid 8.5.
Okay. Would you say it was worth what you paid?
Oh yeah, because we only paid $80 and we had a lot of fun. They have, there's a Chucky house we didn't do either. And like you said, they have little food areas set out with special dishes and drinks and stuff, which you can go and get during like normal hours because they stay open for that.
Okay. During spooky season, they just have those open.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have them open normally right now at SeaWorld or not. I'll find out tomorrow.
The tribute store, the Halloween Horror, because they always do a Halloween Horror Nights tribute store with all like the horror merchandise in there, and it's always themed. Last year, I don't remember what last year was. I remember it was really cool though. This year it's like comic book themed, so like think Tales from the Crypt, like comic-y.
Oh,
Okay.
neat.
Cool.
And there's one specific room that's really, really fucking cool. Like you walk into it and it's an old noir comic. So like they have like the comic rain coming down on the like a projection and it's still like coming down.
Oh, I
on the
love
walls.
that.
Cool.
And you look at the floor and you can see like the raindrops hitting the floor and
Wow.
they have giant comic panels set up on the wall like this.
That's all just for the shop?
Yeah, just the shop.
Okay, because that's fantastic.
And like that whole room was about two thieves trying to steal a Cthulhu statue or whatever. And like there's a locker, like a whole locker set up, and it's like a Cthulhu statue with glowing red eyes and stuff.
And then what kind of merch is in there?
It's just like shirts and
Gotcha.
trinkets and stuff.
Cool.
All their Halloween merch.
All right. Nice.
So yeah, that's my review of Halloween Horror Nights. If you got $80, go for it. If you got like $60 and you want to drive 2 hours, let me know. I'll go to Henry's Haunted Trail with you. And then we'll talk about our movie nights that we did. I wanted to do a horror movie night with like a B horror movie. So something kind of like Mystery Science 3, whatever.
Mystery Science 3000?
3000, where you just sit and make fun of it the whole time, which is basically what this movie was. If you've ever seen the movie that we watched is Motel Hell, which this is going to be a review / you're going to have some spoilers. Which,
Right. It's not, spoilers are not going to make it any less enjoyable.
yeah.
Oh, it was fantastic. It was absolutely, it was the shit show I hoped it would be.
What was your favorite part?
Oh, for me, my favorite part was traumatizing Dear Sweet Ev over the swingers.
I was going to say the swingers.
Oh, that was good.
The guys who like clearly were just throwing it out there, it's like, shag it down, like baby. I'm like, what the fuck?
The lingo was terrible. And of course, Ev's like, what is happening? I said, you know how we talked about people with their upside down pineapples? These are people with upside down
Yeah.
pineapples. And the look of horror, it was fantastic.
I like when they like cut to them back in the room and like the guys in like this pleathered like skirt and get up. And
The outfits were just fantastic.
they're sitting there tying them up and they're just going along with it. Oh yeah.
Yeah. What about you? What was your favorite part?
I really think my favorite part was the first time you see the heads in the garden. Yes. Like, just because then you're like, yes, okay, this is exactly what I needed.
They never really elaborate on why they planted them. And they don't really plant them. They made it seem like they're a plant now. But all they did was dig a straight hole and plop them in there and leave the head up.
Right.
And then they keep going back and they're like, oh, they're almost ready. But they're still the same thing.
Like, ready for what?
Right. Well, it was the meat.
Yeah.
But like,
why plant them in the first place?
is that how they tenderize them? Is this like the idea of like veal?
I felt like that's how they kept them. Like, instead of caging them, that's how they like.
It was just
Kept
easier
them,
because
yeah.
you just get out your auger blade and you just dig
Yeah, I
that
guess-
straight hole and you just plop them right in.
Right. That's how they like hid them. Like.
And they had their little, didn't they have like little sacks over their
Yeah.
heads?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the little flour sacks or whatever.
And then when like the first boyfriend got out of his hole or whatever, and then he died immediately.
Immediately.
Or this giant pig head that the one chick had on.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was
Oh.
that was clearly fake.
I think I missed who was the pig.
It was the sister or whatever she was.
Oh my gosh. It was full of just like shitty plot moments, but hysterical. Absolutely hysterical. I kept expecting some like Invasion of the Body Snatchers moment. No, never happened.
Nope. And then it ended with like the rapey cop walking away with the girl.
Rapey cop.
He was very rapey.
He was rapey. He was definitely rapey.
And he got the girl in the end.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then the cop was walking away like, somebody should clearly investigate this place. You're a cop.
Isn't that your job? Do your job. But yeah, would I watch it again? Absolutely. I need a few years to forget some details, but
I think the next one we're gonna do, I think we picked out like the killer donut one. I think was the one we picked.
what is the? I told you guys whatever. What is the killer donut one? Is there? Why are you guys calling it killer donut?
Because they're donuts that eat people.
Sweet.
It's like they get like radiation or something on them, and then they turn into these monsters, and it's the little monster donuts that eat people.
So this is like think like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, but donuts. Can we eat donuts when we watch
That's
this?
a good idea. Yeah. I sent you 2 options because I had that, and then because Peacock, shout out to Peacock, they uploaded a bunch of horror movies on there, and that's one of them. And the other one is that I picked. It's a demonically possessed lawnmower.
Oh, okay. I vaguely remember this conversation.
So you got your movie written down there.
So
What's yours?
I ended up watching because I've just been going through and watching like crappy films, and going back to childhood in the '90s, I was obsessed with the R.L. Stine books. I would those and Christopher Pike, and just that was like my gateway to like horror fiction.
Like Goosebumps were my first chapter books.
Exactly. So I would just like eat those books up. Well, it's been a couple years now, but Netflix put out a 3-part trilogy of Fear Street. So takes place, the first one in 94, then 78, and then it jumps back all the way to 1666.
Okay.
You see what they did there? Yeah. And just the nods to those books from when I was a kid. Now, the movies themselves, very cheesy, but it was what I wanted it to be. It was what I hoped it would be. The actual, the acting was good. The sets were great. They did a great job with all of that. I especially loved the music from the 94 because it took me back to, like, it put me right there in that time period. And so for me, it was like that feel good kind of like, oh, this is what I need. I was having kind of a crummy day when I started watching the trilogy. And I was like, this is cool. This is what I needed. So if you're somebody who, oh my, I'm breaking shit. Oh, it's my phone. No worries. It's my shit. But yeah, if you just want like a little like subtle nod to the past, like absolutely hands down. Nothing in it really scary, so I would say kids could watch it no problem, but they may not care.
They're coming out with another Goosebumps series, and it's got was it Josh Long? Is that his name?
Who's that?
He was in Dodgeball. He was in Jeepers Creepers. Justin Long. That's one thing. Not Josh Long. Justin Long. He always dies in all these horror movies. Like he was in Walrus. He was in Jeepers Creepers. He was the guy got skinned at the end. If you watch Dodgeball, he's the one that gets hit with all the balls and the wrenches and stuff.
Doesn't that Ben Stiller in it?
Yeah, it does.
I avoid Ben Stiller.
Okay. But yeah, he's like the main guy, and it looks good.
I did say, isn't that coming out? Is it next week or the week after? Because I just saw an ad
Something
about
like
that.
yeah.
I was kind of excited about it.
Yeah. So I'll probably watch that. I'll probably have Cora watch that because she watched the Goosebumps movie with Jack Black, and that was good.
Awesome.
One of the horror movies we watched, because I should have worn the shirt. I have it's called Funhouse, and I have like this really cool tie-dye shirt with like the main villain on it. But when you actually watch the movie, it like makes no goddamn sense. It's one of those ones from like '84, where it's just, we're gonna make this movie, we're done.
It took 3 days. Let's get it to print.
Yeah. But immediately, the movie starts, and then it's the 80s, so immediately, boobs. I was like, okay. Cora's not out here, that's good.
That checks.
It's like these kids, they get stuck. They decide we're going to stay, they're at like an old carnival. Mm-hmm. And then they go through the fun house, and we should stay here overnight for some reason. So they decide to like hop out of the cars, and when the car comes back empty, nobody questions it. And they decide to stay the night in this fun house, and it turns out the guy that had the mask on that was like sitting the cars through, he takes the mask off and he's some kind of weird mutated thing that the owner of that particular ride lets kill one person or 2 people every time in every city they go to, and he ends up killing like one of the carnival workers. The rest is hard to follow. There's just a lot of not good kill scenes.
But worth watching? I mean, you've got the shirt. It must be worth it enough.
I mean, it's not bad, but it's not gonna. If you have 2 hours to kill, and you want like old '80s cheese horror, yeah, go for it.
All right. I did just rewatch I guess it's not really a remake, but the newer version of The Thing, because going back to. The original one came out in I think like 82 or.
I think that one was another version of what I think it's the second one because I think there was one before that. I'm not entirely sure. I could be 100% wrong.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
I thought there was one before that. I could be wrong.
Well, the one that I know of as the first one is the one with Kurt
Carpenter.
Russell.
Carpenter,
Yeah, Carpenter's the thing, exactly. And I watched that from as long as I can remember. My parents tell stories about me in diapers watching it and thinking it was funny. So I love that one so much, and I know it like in and out, no problem. So I was rewatching the newer one that I've only seen like 2 or 3 times. Kiddo got a kick because the whole beginning is in Norwegian, and the kiddo's been learning Norwegian, so Ev liked that. It watches kind of like, I know it's supposed to be like a prequel, but the storyline's kind of confusing. But as far as like acting is good, it sets up the older one very well because it ends the way that one begins. You've seen them both, right?
Yeah. They actually have a video game of it too.
Really?
On PS2. And that was I loved that game. That's a very underrated game. So if you have like an emulator or some way to access PlayStation 2 games, play the thing. That was great.
That is awesome. I've never been into video games, not that much anyway. I would have loved that. That's fantastic. Because that's another one of those movies, like, it's kind of like watching the Alien series. You can screw it up all you want. I'm still going to watch it and love it. But that being said, Carpenter's Thing and the newer version that came out in, I think, 2012, I think they're both great. They're definitely worth watching.
Carpenter, that's like, those practical effects in that movie are crazy.
Amazing. Like, I miss effects like that.
Like the head coming up and the spider things coming out of it is crazy. Cora could never watch that anytime soon.
I mean, you watch it now and it's kind of like, man, I believed that when I was a kid. But that was for the time period, because that was another one that Ev watched with us. And they were like, what? This doesn't even look that good. And I'm like, but remember what everything looked like back then. And look at the details that go into that and the talent that goes into that. That's cool stuff.
Yeah. I mean, Cavity Color just came out with a new shirt for the thing, and I want it, but I haven't bought it. It's got like the petri dish, and it's got like the hot pit where everybody goes into it, and the blood coming out. It spells out the thing, but it's in all creepy, the blood and everything.
That's I have the one that's the old, like the Kurt Russell character, but you can't really see his face because the light's shining and everything, and it says the thing. I love that. 'Cause that's I think that's my favorite scene from the old movie when they're with the petri dishes and the hot, what is it, paper clips? No, it's a spool of wire. It's a spool of wire they stripped. Love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Well, I think that's it for this episode. Well, spoiler, we may go ahead and film the next episode that we're going to post right now, so that won't be live. But thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.